Welcome back, everyone. We are back with chapter 15. We're going to record two because you know what? It's super short. Let's get this through.
Yes.
All
So,
right.
chapter 15 NLT. Abijam rules in Judah. Abijam began to rule over Judah in the 18th year of Jeroboam's reign in Israel. He reigned in Jerusalem 3 years. His mother was Maacah, I think that's how you say it, the granddaughter of Absalom. He committed the same sins as his father before him, and he was not faithful to the Lord his God, as his ancestor David had been. But for David's sake, the Lord his God allowed his descendants to continue ruling, shining like a lamp, and he gave Abijam a son to rule after him in Jerusalem. For David had done what was pleasing in the Lord's sight, and had obeyed the Lord's commands throughout his life, except in the affair concerning Uriah the Hittite. There was war between Abijam and Jeroboam. Throughout Abijam's reign, the rest of the events in Abijam's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judah. There was constant war between Abijam and Jeroboam. When Abijam died, he was buried in the city of David. Then his son Asa became the next king. Asa began to rule over Judah in the 20th year of Jeroboam's reign in Israel. He reigned in Jerusalem 41 years. His mother was Maacah, the granddaughter of Absalom. Asa did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight, as his ancestor David had done. He banished the male and female shrine prostitutes from the land and got rid of all the idols his ancestors had made. He even deposed his grandmother Maacah from her position as queen mother because she had made an obscene Asherah pole. He cut down her obscene pole and burned it in the Kidron Valley. Although the pagan shrines were not removed, Asa's heart remained completely faithful to the Lord throughout his life. He brought into the temple of the Lord the silver and gold and the various items that he and his father had dedicated. There was constant war between King Asa of Judah and King Baasha of Israel. King Baasha of Israel invaded Judah and fortified Ramah in order to prevent anyone from entering or leaving King Asa's territory in Judah. Asa responded by removing all the silver and gold that was left in the treasuries of the temple of the Lord and the royal palace. He sent it with some of his officials to Ben-Hadad, son of Tabrimam, son of Hezion, the king of Aram, who was ruling in Damascus, along with this message. Let there be a treaty between you and me like the one between your father and my father. See, I am sending you a gift of silver and gold. Break your treaty with King Baasha of Israel so that he will leave me alone. Ben-Hadad agreed to King Asa's request and sent the commanders of his army to attack the towns of Israel. They conquered the towns of Yon, Dan, Abel-Beth-Maachah, and all Kinnereth, and all the land of Naphtali. As soon as Baasha of Israel heard what was happening, he abandoned his project of fortifying Ramah and withdrew to Tirzah. Then King Asa sent an order throughout Judah, requiring that everyone, without exception, help to carry away the building stones and timber that Baasha had been using to fortify Ramah. Asa used these materials to fortify the town of Geba in Benjamin and the town of Mizpah. The rest of the events in Asa's reign, the extent of his power, everything he did, and the name of the cities he built are recorded in the book of history of the kings of Judah. In his old age, his feet became diseased. When Asa died, he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. Then Jehoshaphat, Asa's son, became the next king. That was a lot of yada yada, but it's just because now we're seeing basically the lineage of the next kings to come, right? And now we're starting to know what type of choices each of the kings are making, if they're being good kings, if they're being bad kings. But one thing I do want to point out again is how merciful is God that he was able to consider David still, right? He knows that these kings were not, Abijam, as we started reading, was wicked. He was not doing what was pleasing in the eyes of the Lord, and he still had mercy on them.
Mhm.
So, like even in little things like that, you just see how good God is.
Yeah, back you up with scripture of David. It's what I said in the previous recording in 14. If you go to 15:5, it says, "For David had done what was right in the eyes of the Lord, and had not failed to keep any of the Lord's commandments, and all the days of his life, except the cause of Uriah the Hittite. And Uriah was the husband of Bathsheba. So that's why I pinpoint that in the last video, because I remember reading that. So that's 1 Kings 15:5. Also, something that I want to add on that spoke to me very much was the Queen Mother.
Yeah.
Because as we see, unlike the other kings, what was it? Asa? Yes, Asa. Asa. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. But he put a stop even to his own grandmother. Sometimes we have so much reverence for our grandmothers, or we're saying, oh, I'm not going to say that because that's my grandmother. But they're in the wrong, but we stay quiet. I'm guilty of that. Sometimes my grandma be calling me and telling me, yes, I'm going to ask Mary and this and that. Like, I know that is not like that, but because she's my grandmother, sometimes I like bite my tongue. But honestly, that's convicting me now because I realize like that's not okay. Like, I know the truth. I should call it out, but the Lord give me the wisdom on how to call it out because
right, because it's touchy, right? We can do things as Jesus would, right, with love. So that's why it's important to know how we address it, right?
Yeah,
how we address it too, right?
Yeah, but and with the Queen Mother, I was like, what is that position? So I looked it up, right?
Yeah.
And it's royal court has a role to ring in the kingdom, a privilege of the highest honor. And basically, the reason why this position was revoked from her was because she was doing idolatry to the Asher stuff, the Asher poles.
Right. That now we know that it represents the mother of Baal, right? So she was, I guess the Asherah pole that she built was just outrageous. Like, it stood out of the other ones, that it was like so bad that, Asa felt like, this gotta go. This gotta go.
Definitely, because we just said a bunch of names.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to point out, guys, and we're going to start to see this as we continue on the next couple chapters. It could get a little confusing as you're reading it, because if you don't have a visual in front of you, you're like, wait, what, who, when, what, where? Like, because there's instances where you have kings that are, they're going on at the same time. They have a short amount of time that they're actually reigning. And so, like, it can get confusing. So don't think it's just you, okay?
Yeah, when I read this, let me show you my notes. Like, I literally had to draw it out, because if I don't draw it out, I don't understand. But for instance, so far you said the king Asa. And I know Asa ruled for 41 years.
Right.
Compared to Abijah, his father only ruled 3 years. And Rehoboam ruled 17 years. And something, as you were reading, you were saying something very specific. You were saying, okay, Rehoboam was evil, Abijah was evil, and Asa was righteous. So can you define between the good and evil?
Yes. So basically, we got this from a Bible and Timeline workbook that we saw. It reads like this: what made a king good or bad? The biblical writers were not as interested in a king's abilities as an administrator as they were in the king's desire to follow God's commands. Kings that followed God's law and those who outlawed the altars to foreign gods, the high places, and idol worship were designated as good. Those who did not were evil. The Bible uses the phrase, he did evil in the eyes or sight of the Lord to evaluate the king's reign. So, it's just about them really following the Lord or not. It's not about anything else. I do have here, and I'm going to try to put it for you guys also so you guys can get a visual of what is going on. But like right here, it shows you from here to here are the 40 something years that King Asa was ruling.
Yes.
Right? And you can see because he's from Judah, from the tribe of Judah, and then we have everyone else who's from Israel, and you could see that throughout his reign there already goes about what, like 5 different kings,
that we're about to read right now.
but and we're gonna see that exactly.
No, and right now, as I
Yeah, we're gonna see that now, and as we continue on the next chapters.
Before we move to the next section, something that spoke to me when I read this at the beginning was verse 19. And it's because it shows me the wisdom of Asa, the king that ruled 41 years. And he made a treaty, and it was with the king of Arma, who was the king of Damascus. And something that I know from the New Testament is that, remember who was called in the city of Damascus to follow Jesus? Nothing but the great Paul. So I was like, wow, look, Damascus already is appearing in the Old Testament, and that's going to be in the New Testament. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. But look on where the treaty was made, where the what's it called, the alliance from First Kings, all the way from over here. They already had made an alliance with Judah. All right, so let me read 19.
Right.
And it says, let there be treaty between me and you, he said, as there was between my father and your father. See, I am sending your gifts of silver and gold. Now break every treaty with Bashan, the king of Israel, so he will be withdrawn from me. So hey, he's using wisdom, already playing like who's gonna be in my team. And yeah,
and he's kind of just looking for a solution to get this guy like off his back, pretty much, and at this point that's what he needed to do. He needed to, it, like you're saying, who's gonna be with me, who's gonna help me out.
Yeah, a smart person is gonna scout the good ones to be part of their team.
No, good strategy for sure.
All right, so picking up from the NIV, and it's called, I have a title, and it's Nabal, king of Israel. Verse 25. Nabal, son of Jeroboam, became king of Israel in the 2nd year of Asa, king of Judah. He reigned for 2 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, following the ways of his father, and committing the same sin his father had caused Israel to commit. Baasha, son of Ahisha, from the tribe of Issachar, plot against him, and he struck him down at the Gibeon, the Philistine town, while Nabal and all Israel were besieging it. Baasha killed Nabal in the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah, and succeeded him as king. As soon as he began to reign, he killed Jeroboam's whole family. Oof. So prophecy being fulfilled right here, verse 29.
Yep.
He did not leave Jeroboam anyone that breathed, but destroyed them all according to the word of the Lord given through his servant Ahisha the Shilonite. This happened because of the sins of Jeroboam had committed and had caused Israel to commit, and because he aroused the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel. And this is the 2nd time we see that expression, because I remember reading that in 14. As for the other events of Nabal's reign, all he did, are they not written in the books of the annals of the kings of Israel? There was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, throughout their reigns. Baasha, king of Israel. In the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah, Baasha, son of Aisha, became king of all Israel in Tarsha. He reigned for 24 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, following the ways of Jeroboam and committing the same sin Jeroboam had caused Israel to commit. So yeah, Maria is definitely gonna have to put that breakdown of the kings because even me reading this, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, because Nadab, right? Nadab, which is who's Nadab? Nadab is Jeroboam's son, right? So he was only there for basically like a year, okay? And then he got killed, and now the next king is Baasha, right? And it's funny because now we're seeing when Baasha becomes king, right? In earlier scripture, like in verse 17, we're already seeing how King Baasha was, feuding with Asa, but we still didn't even know how he became king.
Yeah.
We're finding out basically now, later on, how he actually got there. But he was also there not too long either. But we shall see what happens with him in the next chapter.
Yeah, and verse 29 is so impactful
Yes, it is.
okay, like you were saying, okay, first was Jeroboam, then it was Naboth, and then Baasha. But as soon as he started to rule over Israel, all Jeroboam's family was out the map.
Yeah, because now what the Lord said, it's
And that's the
it's come
true
to pass.
consequence of Jeroboam's sin and
Yes.
how he led Israel to commit adultery by practicing all these evil worshiping stuff.
Yes, correct.
This is like a tongue twister, guys. It's definitely new concepts, but it's important. We're gonna get through this because we have to.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say, it's a little side note, right? And I just kind of gathered this from all these kings, right? Is that God expects us to move on from the sin, the places, etc., that He has delivered us from. Okay, falling into wickedness causes Him great anger. So every time that we fall into sin again, we should know two things: we are hurting Him, we're disappointing Him, and He's also building up an anger because He's already, He wants you to move on from those places.
Yeah, wow, no, that's very deep because it's like, that's true. God did deliver you from that. So why are you going to open that door again?
I know. But with that being said, He's still merciful. That's the beauty of God. That's why we cannot,
He's
we were saying,
merciful, but don't take it for granted.
exactly. That's what I mean by that,
Yeah. Well, guys, what can I say? That wraps up 1 Kings 15.
See you again on the next episode on Small Girls,
Big God. Have a great night.
Bye.